Okay, and we're now ready to get into the Speedcubing showcase. So with that, I am going to hand over to Creepcrafting and Dornock. Please take it away if you'd like to introduce yourselves and showcase.
Hi everyone, I'm creepcrafting56. You can call me Creep or Jaden. I'm a speedcuber, and I compete in official competitions. I participate in some online unofficial competitions, and because of Archiethon, I'm also a speedrunner as well. If Dornock would like to introduce himself.
Hi, hi, I'm Dornock. I am also a speedkeeper, and I'm also a Celeste runner. Well, occasionally Celeste runner. Yeah, I'll be basically walking you through what goes into doing a Guildford challenge, what exactly it is, and what the methods that Creep will be using.
Great, thank you. And I'm also a Speedcuber, in case you didn't know, so I'm really, really excited to be able to host for this one. I'm very keen to watch.
Alright, with that, I'm gonna just lay out what a Guildford challenge is. So a Guildford challenge is 12 puzzles, or 12 events as we call it, done in a row, and the goal is to get the fastest time as a relay by one person. It could be done by one person, it could be done by multiple people. Today I'll be doing the entire set of puzzles all at once by myself. And with that, we're gonna start on the front row and work our way back. And we're gonna start with 3x3. And when I give the countdown, we're gonna start. Okay, we're gonna start in 3, 2, 1.
Okay, so we're starting off with the typical 3x3. I think that's the one that pretty much everyone knows about. Essentially, the method used for this, you solve those first two layers, and then you do the top layer in just two algorithms, which are basically just a set of moves that you do to move your pieces around. Now for 2x2, which we just saw, very quick. Very fast. Basically, what goes into 2x2 is you just solve the first layer, and then you solve the second layer. That's it. It's only 8 pieces. It's very fast. Now, this first one now, this big one is 7x7. 7x7 takes a long time because you have a lot of pieces that you need to solve. Basically, to start off, you just start by building all of the centers so that they are all each one solid color. After that, you can pair up all of the little edge pieces, and once you do that, it actually turns it back into a 3x3, and then you finish it by solving it like a 3x3. It's really cool how that works. Yeah.
Yeah, so right here, I'm currently working on the second center. Again, this is just a slow process, but eventually we will be able to bring this all the way back. And here we have 2 centers solved. Just gonna continue.
Yeah, when you're solving these centers, solving 2 centers that are opposite to each other is honestly just the easier way of doing it, because with doing 2 opposite centers, then you have the other 4 centers basically kind of just in their own track, rather than if you have 2 centers that are right next to each other, you're constantly breaking at least one of them to solve the next center. But having them all basically in a line, and then the other two basically on the 2 sides, you don't actually run into that problem. And it makes solving at least the first center that's in the last set of 4 a lot easier, and also a lot faster. It looks like we're getting through. There's that first one. Now, with the second center in this set, it becomes a little bit more tricky, because you do have to try and make sure that you're not going to completely break that
just broke it.
percent. Oh no. Yeah, and you also want to. Generally, you'll want to solve a center that's adjacent to it, rather than doing one that's opposite. Because if you do that, it can still work, but especially on something that's a lot larger, like a 7x7, where you just have so many pieces and it's so big, having two centers that are opposite of each other solved while you're also trying to build the last two becomes a massive issue. And now with the last two centers is a really interesting challenge, especially for larger cubes like a 7x7, because you have two other centers that you need to not break. So what usually ends up happening is you use a lot of what are called commutators. Basically what that does is you do one set of moves to move a specific piece, then you move another piece into that spot, and then you undo the first setup and then undo the second setup. And that basically moves two pieces.
Yeah, there was two examples of commutators where I had to move two inner center pieces to be solved correctly.
Yeah, that's commutators are really cool because you can do so much with them. Commutators are pretty much virtually complete, like, and I can't words for a second. Commutators are great because you can basically use them for almost anything, and they're super versatile.
Yeah, it allows you to kind of make swaps between small numbers of pieces while preserving quite a lot of already solved stuff, is my understanding, which makes them come in quite handy at the end of quite complicated steps, like building the centers, as we were seeing before.
Yeah. Now, something that I should bring up, because if you know anything about competition events, you might be wondering, hey, where's the blindfolded? Well, the thing is, with part of what a Guildford challenge does is that you have to do all of the events in a row without any level really of inspection on any of them, because usually with an event you'll be given 15 seconds before the solve to basically just look around and try and plan, okay, what am I going to do first? Now, having that in this, where you're just constantly doing all of the events in a row, not only is that just a little bit difficult to do in relation to everything else, it's also a bit annoying, because it would also mean you need a lot of cubes. Because not only do you need, you already base need 2 3x3s, but you would also need at least 3 more on top of that. Because you have multi-blind, which is multiple 3x3s solved blindfolded. So the challenge just doesn't include blindfolded because it's just a little bit impractical.
Okay,
I was curious. Oh, sorry.
We're gonna run into a case of parity. So basically, some cases are not possible on a 3x3, but you will get it on other cubes because of like the number of pieces. So we call those, or we call them parities, but in reality it's actually a parity error. I don't exactly know what the science behind that is, but well, we turned into 3x3 and
there we go. That's
7x7 is completed.
I can like try and explain kind of what the science behind parities is. It's a little bit weird, but basically the idea is that with any cube that is larger than a 3x3 that also has specifically even layers, there is pieces that are inside of the puzzle that aren't on the outside that basically act as as pieces that are on the next order of magnitude up. So in a 4x4, you would have small internal pieces that match edges on a 5x5, and right now we're seeing a 6x6. There's actually internal pieces that mirror the image, mirror the edge pieces of a 7x7. Now, because you can't see those pieces, sometimes they can get flipped around. But you wouldn't know that because you can't see the pieces. So basically the way that you find that out is because you end up seeing something that doesn't look right, because you'll see a flipped edge or a swap of only two corner pieces or two edge pieces. So we have specific algorithms that basically manipulate things both inside and outside to fix that aren't necessarily needed on a larger cube, because you would be able to see those issues. So calling it a parity error is also a little bit of a misnomer, because it's not exact. It's more about like even, or I'm talking about like cool nerd stuff. But basically, that's what the idea behind it is.
And you can spot that I'm actually solving this a little bit differently. So I already have solved my 4 edges prior to finishing the entire centers. This is actually, I don't think it's very commonly used on 6x6, but I do prefer using it because there is less pieces to track, but this is the most used methods for, I think it's tied for 5x5 and definitely the best for 4x4. So this is the Yao method, where you solve the cross pieces on one side and then complete the remaining edges.
Yeah, Yao is basically I think it still is the most common method, especially for 4x4. 5x5, I'm not as sure. But it's basically, instead of just solving all of your centers and then solving all of your edges like you do on the 7x7, you solve 2 of your centers and then you solve 3 of the 4 edge pieces that you want to use for your bottom layer when you reduce it to a 3x3. Once you do that, then you finish solving your centers, and you solve that last edge piece for that bottom layer to build the cross, which is basically the fundamental thing that you start a 3x3 solve with. And then from there, you pair the rest of your edges, and then once you've reduced it back down to a 3x3, you have already completed your cross, so you already skipped a step of the 3x3 stage. So for 4x4, it's really, really, really good, just because there's not a lot of pieces, and you can also do a lot of really cool things with your edge pairing. Now, as you get into bigger cubes, you can't do as much interesting things with your edge pairing, especially once you get upwards of 6x6 and 7x7. It's not super common, because there isn't a whole lot you can do as much with your edge pairing as compared to 4x4 or 5x5. But it's still obviously very usable, and there are a decent number of people that use it. So we can see it here on 5x5 as well. All those cross pieces are already built, and we're almost done with the edge pairing. I think we only have, looks like 3 or 4 edges left. Oh wait, I think.
Yeah, 4 more edges.
Four more. And then once those are done, you can just immediately go into your F2L stage of your 3x3 to just finish building those first 2 layers.
Okay, I'm 3 for 3 with parity on every single big cube.
It's such epic marathon luck right there.
I don't want to jinx it, but I also don't want to say it. but hopefully maybe you can break it this time.
Maybe.
We hope.
Alright, now this is going to be pretty important. So right now, instead of building it center by center, I'm actually, well, it's still center by center, but I'm doing halves of centers, so that's something called half centers. And then now this is like the special part of why 4x4 it's used for Yao. So right there already, instead of going edge by edge, I've already completed all the pairs, like edges, and I got parity again. But yeah, so you can slice forward and back, and just to create your edges, and that's called 3-2-3 edges, where you solve 3 edges, then 2 edges, and then back to 3 edges again.
Yeah, 3-2-3 pairing is crazy good. You can have your edges done in like under 5 seconds sometimes.
Okay, those are two quick events, some miscellaneous events. The Pyrrhus Cube, they're pretty commonplace, a little bit wacky, but it's pretty fun to solve.
They're on the bit of sillier side of events, just because they're so quick, they're so short, and they're also funny puzzles in general. And now we're on to Megaminx. Now Megaminx is really cool. Megaminx is basically if you had a 3x3, but it was a dodecahedron.
Creep, you please move your hand maybe 2 inches further forwards onto the table there. Thank you very much. Appreciate that.
For Megaminx, basically, you can see we already have the first 2 layers done. And now what we're doing is we basically kind of go through and solve the other faces before we get to the gray layer. Like, see, we just solved the red face, and now she's solving the dark blue face.
I found it.
Megaminx edges. Now the yellow face is done, and now I think it's just the purple and dark green faces that need to be finished, and then we're on to that last layer. There are several different ways of doing this series of faces. This is the most common one where you just go face by face. There's also other ones where you basically build like small blocks of like 2 edges and a corner, and then you solve basically just pairs from those. And now we're on that last layer, so it looks like we're orienting corners so that... Oh no. Corner twists.
That is legal, by the way. If you accidentally turn the corner, then you can turn it. You just can't do it intentionally.
Yeah. And their Megaminx is done. And now we're on to Square One, which is personally my favorite event.
This is also my favorite event as well.
Go.
Okay, never mind.
The slice lockups. So yeah, Square One, it's just really interesting. Oh no, parody again.
Yeah. I've gotten parody on every single call.
Yeah, Square One's really interesting just because since the pieces are differently shaped, it shapeshifts, and it's really cool. And now we're on Clock, also known as the second stupidest event. And there's Clock. That's all you need to know.
It's a little silly, and then we're gonna end off solving one-handed. This is actually an event. This is not just for show, even though it kind of is.
It looks super flashy.
Yeah, for sure. I should have not done that earlier, because now I end up with a bad case. And there is time.
Wow, that's nice.
1738. Okay, so that's actually a PB from my submission, which is actually super good. And yeah, I hope that was a good showcase of
That's very interesting. PBing with all that parity as well, incredibly impressive. So well done.
Did you get parity on every single thing that
I
you
got
can get
parity on
on?
every single puzzle that I could get parity on.
Oh my god.
That's losing 6 coin flips on the RNG there, right? If my maths is right.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, congratulations. Really, really impressive showcase. Thank you so much, Creep, and also Dornock for the commentary as well. Do either of you have anything that you would like to shout out or sign off with?
Yeah, so first off, I'd like to obviously thank my family for supporting me. They've been extremely helpful over the past year with academics and like real life things. I'd like to give thanks to Animating Dragon, who I spelled her name wrong on there's not supposed to be a space, but they made the lovely background in the timer. It's super amazing. You should go and check out her stuff. I'd like to thank Dornock for commentating my Gopher challenge, and like CelesteCommunity, Bingo Cord, giving me lots of joy and participation, and just this the entirety of the CelesteCommunity in general.